This is TWiT.
In some ways, the spiritual father of this show, because he wrote the book, The Age of Intelligent Machines, that gave birth to the name Ray Kurzweil. His newest is The Singularity is Nearer. He's written many books. He's been a leading developer in AI for 63 years, which is, as far as I could tell, longer than any living person. Also, an amazing inventor. He invented the first flatbed scanner, the first optical character recognition system, the first print-to-speech reading machine for the blind. Of course, that famous Kurzweil synthesizer for Stevie Wonder. I can go on and on. You actually got a Grammy Award for that. Recipient of the National Medal of Technology, inducted in the National Inventors Hall of Fame, 21 honorary doctorates. He's written 5 best-selling books, and as I said, the newest, which came out last year, is The Singularity is Nearer. When we merge with AI, Ray, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for giving us some time.
My pleasure.
Love your hand-painted suspenders. They're fantastic.
Thank you.
There's so many questions we have for you. You're probably most famous for your prediction that we would reach AGI in 2029, 4 years from now, and we would reach the singularity in about 20 more years from now. In fact, I remember talking to you in 1999 when I think you said those very years. Nobody at the time thought you were right. You obviously have been pretty accurate. I saw somebody said your success rate in predictions is 86% now. Are we still on target?
I made 147 predictions in 1999 about the year 2009. 86% were correct within 1 year. So,
wow.
But I have a method for doing this. If I actually bring up the computation chart, I can show
I have it on my screen right now. Yeah. Benito, can you pull up that? There we go. This is, by the way, a logarithmic chart.
It's a logarithmic chart. So a straight line means exponential growth. It starts with the first working computer in 1939, the Zeus 2, which did 0.000007 calculations per second per constant dollar. Up on the upper right-hand corner is a NVIDIA latest chip, which does 500 billion calculations per second per constant dollar. So it's a 75 quadrillion-fold increase since 1939 for the same cost. And that's only the hardware. The actual cost of doing a computation is the hardware times the software increase. The software increase depends on what you're doing, but it can also be millions of one to one. So overall, we've gained something like 1 million quadrillion-fold increase since 1939. That's why we didn't have large language models in 1939, or even 4 years ago. We began to have them 4 years ago. They didn't actually work very well. Even comparing today's large language models to the ones we had 1 year ago is a dramatic difference. So we're making exponential gains in the cost of making a computation.
So, all right. So I guess that's, in a way, is that Moore's Law?
Well, Moore's Law is a piece of it that deals with integrated circuits. But this happened from 1939 when we used relays to create computers. Then we used
good point.
Tubes. Then we used discrete transistors. Then we used integrated circuits. Moore's Law has only to do with integrated circuits.
Right.
This is a much more broad way of tracking computation.
But AI hasn't gotten better solely because computation's gotten better, or has it?
But that's a necessary capability. If we didn't have the computation, we wouldn't have large language models. That only emerged like 4 years ago because of the exponential gains in computation.
You actually point out, though, that people...
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great now. Yeah.
Okay.
You actually point out that even as recently as a few years ago, Even experts in the field have been surprised, you write, by many of the recent breakthroughs in AI. There is something else going on than just computational capability, yes?
Yes, it's both software and hardware. The software is also giving us computation gains, but we're also creating more sophisticated software. Large language models now can actually call other capabilities and bring them in. Right now, computation is getting to the point where it can match the best human capabilities. There's different definitions of what AGI means. My definition is actually pretty comprehensive. Basically, it will be able to do what an expert in every field can do all at the same time. And we're not quite there yet, but we will be there by 2029.
It'll be more general, in other words. Yeah.
And it'll be able to do what an expert can do in every field.
In any field, yeah.
Ray, do you have a definition of intelligence, generic even before you get into this with artificial?
Well, I dealt with a few definitions in my books. Mm-hmm. Intelligence is a way of using limited resources to solve a problem. And the faster you can solve it and the more sophisticated that you can, problems that you can solve, you have more intelligence.
You have a bet, you did it somewhere more than 20 years ago, I think, with Mitch Kapor. It was part of the Long Now's long bets, a $20,000 bet that the machine would pass your modified Turing test. When? Right. Soon, right? In the next few years?
Well, it said it by 2029.
29, okay.
But the Turing test is not very well defined. Turing actually had like a page of descriptions of it, so it's really unclear. Some people have said that the current language models can already pass it. I felt we would actually have like a 5-year period where people would say we're passing it. People wouldn't necessarily believe that, but by the end of 5 years, everybody would believe it. So we've actually passed that first point. So by 2029, I believe everyone will believe that we passed the Turing test. But more significantly is AGI, which is actually the same prediction that large language models combined with everything else that we're doing will be able to match the best human capability, but also much faster. Like a friend of mine compared 2 books. It took her 4 days to do it. She decided to compare that to a large language model. Large language model did it in 40 seconds, and she felt it did a better job. That's today. Yeah. So it's already comparing very well to human intelligence. And
are you going to have so your test has human judges connected to test subjects, both computer and human. One of the things you point out is that an AI actually will have to pretend it's dumber than it is, because if it really knew everything, it would be so obvious that it's a computer that it wouldn't.
Well, absolutely. If it solves problems that take us 4 days and 40 seconds, and it can do that for every possible human skill, we would know it's a computer.
Yeah.
So it has to dumb itself down. But there's certain things that it can't quite do yet that actually humans can do. It has to be very good at having a personality that's consistent. We're getting there. 2029 is actually one of the more conservative predictions about this.
It's your prediction, or do you want to adjust it? Do you think we'll get there sooner?
Well, there's no reason for me to adjust it.
Right.
I said 2029 in 1999.
Right.
Stanford actually was concerned about my prediction. They organized a worldwide conference to examine it. Several hundred AI experts came. This was, I think, in 2000. And they felt that, yes, computers would be able to pass the Turing test, but not within 30 years. The consensus was 100 years.
Oops.
I was the only person that said 30 years.
I think you're closer than 100, for sure. One of the things you point out in the book, which is, I think, really true, is, I think you refer to a AI expert who said, if a computer, and this was a few years ago, I think 2014, 2015, could look at an image and know what's going on in the image, that's really hard to do. And if it could do that, that'd be impressive. 1 month later, Google releases Google Lens and does it. But you point out humans have an interesting flaw, because as soon as the computer does it, we go, oh, yeah, well, that wasn't so hard. Of course, it can beat the best chess players in the world. That's a computation.
Yeah. Well, we saw that with chess.
Right.
Chess was considered, if you could actually play chess, you're creating fantastic creative abilities, which no computer could do. As soon as the computer could beat every human being, we said, oh, well, chess is not that.
That wasn't that
significant.
Hard. Yeah. AlphaGo Zero is very interesting because it taught itself, unlike the chess playing computer, it learned, all it started with was the rules of Go, and then it played itself a billion games over just a few days and became better even than AlphaGo, and beat the world champion, beat AlphaGo 100 games to nothing. That's something called deep reinforcement learning, right?
Well, that's what we're dealing with now. We actually can, when you play a game, it's very clear whether or not it's successful or not. If you win the game, you can actually track on that data. When you're creating language models, it's not clear what a successful identification is. But we've actually had people go through, we've trained many different possibilities, and it actually learns from that. So that's like a successful game, and it actually can do a very good job with language now.
DeepSeek, in fact, kind of used that technique, right?
Well, American companies also have the ability to do this with less computation.
Yeah, OpenAI immediately said, "Oh, we got that. We can do that." What did you? Now you talk in the book was written last year, and you talk a lot about the disruptions, and you talk, I think, pretty optimistically, as you always have, about, for instance, the job market and other disruptions. You do, you're a little concerned about Luddites. You're a little concerned about anti-AI violence.
Well, the problem now is that it's happening so quickly.
Right.
I mean, generally, in times past, it took a while for the job picture to change, and so people could get used to it. Now it's going to happen very, very quickly.
Are you concerned?
Well, I'm concerned about that. I think we'll get through it. We'll actually be better off. Actually, if you bring up my U.S. personal income chart.
I got it right here. Yeah, let me pull it up.
This is due to computation, comparing our per capita personal income. So this is the average income that a person makes. In constant dollars, it's 10 times what it was 100 years ago.
This is at 2023 dollars.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Although there's a little dip there right at the top. I notice a little drop. I wonder what data from the last few years might show. I mean, you also talk a lot about the real reason humans work is for meaning and for purpose. Obviously, we have to support ourselves.
Right. Well, my view is a little bit different than other AI experts. Some people think, okay, we've got a certain amount of intelligence, and then AI, although we carry it around, like everybody carries this around. I give lectures, and every single person almost has a cell phone.
Right.
That wasn't true 15 years ago. But it's not part of our body. So if AI says something, it's not part of who we are. But we're going to actually merge together. We're not going to carry around a separate part. We'll do that with virtual reality. We'll actually see things, and it'll actually go inside our brain. That'll happen in the 2030s. And we won't be able to tell the difference between things that our biological brain, which we'll keep, as well as our AI-assisted brain, won't be able to tell the difference, and it'll be part of who we are. So it won't be us versus AI. We're going to be made much more intelligent by merging with AI.
You talk about it as epochs, and the fifth epoch. You say we will directly merge biological human cognition with the speed and power of our digital technology.
Right, and other people don't do that. They think it's us versus AI. I mean, you go through educational institutions from elementary school up through graduate school, people don't want to use AI because people won't get smarter that way. So let's keep AI separate, and that's not the right way to do things. The world we'll be in will be even more than it is today, imbued with AI, and we're going to be smarter, and that's the world we need to get used to.
We'll actually transcend our genetic capabilities by some sort of cybernetic man-machine
right,
interface.
And there's a whole way in which we'll do that, but I mean, you can see with virtual reality, you just look at the world, and things you look at will be, it will tell you what's going on with them. You'll see the world with a much more comprehensive view of it.
But that's for you, that's what the singularity really is, right? I mean,
the singularity is when we actually merge, we'll combine with AI, and it'll make us 1,000,000 times smarter.
Right.
And that's something that we can hardly comprehend, so we borrow this metaphor from physics, where we talk about something that we can't understand, like a singularity in physics. Things go into it, you can't actually see what's going on inside it, so we call that a singularity. This is a singularity in history where we won't be able to really understand today what it would be like to be 1,000,000 times smarter. So that's 2045.
So, as I was saying, you wrote this last year. We have entered a very disruptive period, not just in our nation, but globally. Perhaps maybe a little bit because of this, perhaps because of climate change and a lot of other disruptions. Are we going to make it to 2045? Have you changed your outlook a little bit because of the last few months?
No, we're going to get to 2045.
Good. I'm counting on it.
I mean, if you bring up my chart on electricity generation, solar energy, and it's also true of wind energy, is growing exponentially, and there's reasons for that. To completely replace all of our energy needs, we would only need 1 part in 10,000 of the sunlight that meets the Earth. So we only have to generate 1 part in 10,000, and we'll generate all of the energy that we need. And we're on our ways to doing that in about 10 years based on the exponential growth. People tend to look at things in linear ways, but this is actually growing exponentially, and energy will be much cheaper as a result.
You do have a chapter called Peril. You talk about the specter of social dislocation and violence, which you think is unlikely, but you do point out, and I think this is important, that we should work toward a world where the powers of AI are broadly distributed so that its effects reflect the values of humanity as a whole. I mean, that's pretty clear that we don't want... You work right now, by the way, we should mention, you're AI visionary at Google. But notwithstanding, we don't want Google to control it or Microsoft to control it or OpenAI or China. Or it should be something all humankind benefits from, yes?
Well, first of all, I mean, everybody has access to AI, so that's good. And we do want competition in the AI field. I think, though, if you use a large language model, it should be from a larger company, so they're concerned about their reputation and their liability.
Good point. DeepSeek is not.
If you deal with a small company,
Yeah.
There's not much behind them, and
Right.
they're not really that concerned about reputation or liability.
I do think, though, it's very important, and I'm very happy about this, that this hasn't become a proprietary technology, that the technologies for transformers and LLMs are well known, well distributed, and many other companies are working on it at the same time.
And a lot of companies really create publications with their techniques.
Yeah, it's not being kept secret.
Right.
Which is good, I think. Yes, you agree?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
It's good to have sort of sensible regulation across a lot of different companies.
We just recently saw Safe.ai release. This is Eric Schmidt's effort, releases a paper on AI safety. Where do you stand on superintelligence and AI safety?
Well, I mean, threats of AI are real and serious, but it's not an alien invasion. AI is not coming to us from Mars. We're creating it.
That might be worse.
The techniques are widely known is actually helpful. Everybody has access to it. And some things that are negative, it's good for them to be widely known. When we had nuclear war, was actually, there's been two times that the nuclear war actually broke out, and two cities in Japan were annihilated with nuclear war. And if you asked people then, what's the likelihood that this will happen again, 99% would say that, it's going to happen many times. But actually, for the last 80 years, this has not happened.
It was a
people
cautionary.
People actually have capability of nuclear war, are maybe not the best people in the world, but somehow we've avoided doing that. So I'm more optimistic that we can avoid the dangers from AI. But we must train AI to mirror human reasoning. We must advance our ethical ideals as reflected by AI. I was actually one of the principal participants in the Asilomar guidelines. This happened a number of years ago, and we created some ethical ideals that are being pursued, and so I'm optimistic about it, but we do have to be diligent about it.
Is this a role that government should take?
It's a good question. I don't really have an answer to that. It depends on what the governments do. I think it's actually useful to have large companies that already have a lot of both reputation and ethical guidelines to guide them.
I'm sure because you work at Google, you wouldn't be working there if you didn't feel like they were a good steward. Is OpenAI a good steward?
I think so.
Okay.
And a lot of people use them. And I think that's been helpful to have a lot of companies doing this.
Guys, I don't want to monopolize Mr. Kurzweil. If you have a question, Jeff or Paris, please.
Paris, you go.
I'm curious. I mean, you've touched on this a bit, but given that your position on this is that in just a few short years, we're going to experience AGI and specifically the widespread access to technologies that are better at doing practically everything that a human being could. What would, I guess, stop that from causing kind of widespread economic disruption of large segments of the economy kind of collapsing as companies replace workers?
Because we're merging with AI. Everybody seems to take the position there's human intelligence and then there's AI. We carry it around with us, but it's not really part of us. but we're actually going to merge with it. So you and me and everybody else is going to be a lot smarter than we were before, and you won't be able to tell. In fact, you won't be able to tell from yourself what's AI and what's part of you, because it's part of yourself.
Does that require a human AI brain interface like Neuralink? Is that how it's going to happen?
It's not going to require surgery. I mean,
good.
Neuralink is useful for people that can't communicate and so on. It can be very useful for that. But for the rest of us that can communicate, virtual reality is one way to do it. The other way is to actually tell what you only have to actually detect what's going on in part of the your brain where the key thoughts are generated.
So I could wear a helmet? Do you imagine?
Yeah.
Or some sort of AI hat?
You won't have to wear anything.
Oh, okay. Although I'm willing to. I'm just saying I'm willing to if
He's worn worse.
I've done worse. So, but you anticipate that in 20 years, people will grow up in kind of a team work with AI. Will kids go to school, or will they? I mean, what does this look like? How does it happen? When do you get your AI implant? Or do you not worry about that?
That's a very good question. I'm really not sure about that.
Doesn't matter really if it happens, I guess. Yeah.
But if you do it, let's say through virtual reality, I mean, you can get it at any time.
Right.
You can put it on, take it off, just like virtual reality is today, and it can actually generate a broader view of each person, and we're doing that already. I mean, just carrying this around already makes us more intelligent.
No, I agree. In fact, I use AI all the time, and I now, as Paris and Jeff painfully know, I wear a little recorder. This is kind of like Gordon Bell's memory thing. But it's not pictures. It's recording all the audio, which it then sends to AI for analysis. And right now, the analysis is somewhat trivial. It's interesting, but somewhat trivial. But I also feel like I'm building up a database of information that will, as AI improves in a few years, be really valuable.
Well, I took everything that my father wrote and created a chatbot with it, and you could ask him any question, and it would actually find the correct answer. And it was like talking to my father.
That's wild.
So there's ways in which, even though everything you're saying may not might seem trivial to you, you put it all together, it actually generates your personality.
Will it still be, you think, in 2029, neural nets, LLMs, deep reinforcement learning, the kinds of techniques we're using now, or do you anticipate new techniques to come along?
Well, we're adding new techniques. I mean, we have an LLM, but it can actually then code something and actually analyze it in real time and give you an answer and participate in the final answer it gives you. So we're combining different techniques together.
Yeah.
And the final thing will not be one thing. It'll be a whole grab bag of different techniques that work together.
Jeff, did you have...
Yeah, I'm curious, Ray, about your public reaction to AI. You've been a leader in this for your whole life. And then 2 years ago, along comes ChatGPT, and people say, whoa, it can talk, it can listen, it can hear us in our language. And so the public attitude toward it all changed kind of overnight. And so I'm curious what your reaction is
yes
to that
and no.
public reaction.
I mean, the first ones were interesting, but they made a lot of mistakes. Mm-hmm. And they didn't know everything, and they didn't really have a human personality. Gradually, that changes, and depends on which person you ask and which versions they're using. So it's not like it just came and it worked perfectly.
Oh, no, no, I absolutely agree. But I think that the public perception was that it was a sudden arrival when it's been worked for years.
Yeah.
What do you think about press coverage these days of AI as a whole?
I mean, I think it's beneficial. We're careful about the mistakes, but people are not alarmed by it. I think it will have a lot of impact on jobs. I think we will need to provide some stipend to everybody so they can participate in the economy. But I think when we actually have more intelligence, people will benefit from that.
I notice you use the word mistake and not hallucination. Some AI naysayers say that this hallucination problem is intractable, that this is going to be a hard one
getting better.
to solve.
You compare hallucinations today to 1 year ago, it's dramatically better. And I think we understand how to get rid of hallucinations. So
you do? Okay. All right. How about safety? How about prompt injection, things like that? Are you concerned about people breaking into AIs, jailbreaking AIs?
I mean, there's a lot of concerns that are difficult that we're dealing with. As the threats increase, AI's ability to thwart them also increases. So a lot of people generate what will happen that are negative and completely ignore the fact that AI will help us to alleviate them.
Right.
So I think we will be able to deal with it. And so
when
far
are we going to hit
are.
When are we going to? I talked about the fifth epoch, which is when we merge. You mentioned the sixth epoch in your book. By the way, the new book is really a good read and fun to read. The singularity is nearer when we merge with AI. It's already a bestseller. You say in the sixth epoch is where our intelligence spreads throughout the universe, turning ordinary matter into computronium, which is matter organized at the ultimate density of computation. When's that going to happen?
Well, computronium, that's beyond 20 years from now.
Yeah, I would say so. But it does get exponential, doesn't it?
After 1 liter of computronium would give you more capability than all human beings together.
Wow.
And we can actually change a certain part of our matter into computronium. And then it will make us, again, more intelligent. So, I mean, if we're 1 million times more intelligent in 20 years, it's not going to stop then. It'll keep going.
Right. And we can create, it becomes exponential because we operate at faster and faster rate. Yeah. Just as.
So I'm not that concerned about going to other planets right now because we have plenty of things here on Earth to make ourselves more intelligent. But eventually we'll run out of that. So that's decades from now. At that point, we'll want to go to other places.
That will be a job for next generation, the fifth epoch.
Well, that brings up the fact that we can extend our own lives.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Longevity escape velocity.
Right
now you go through a year, and you're a year older. However, scientific progress is also creating new cures, new ways of processing disease. And if you're diligent, which I think the three of you are, you'll get back today about 4 months. So you age a year, but you get back 4 months, so you only actually age 8 months every year. However, the scientific progress is growing exponentially. So by 2032, about 7 years from now, if you're diligent, you'll get back not 4 months, but a full year. So you age a year, but you get back a full year. So you actually you won't die of aging. That doesn't mean you won't die. You could get in an accident tomorrow. Although also making progress in accidents, Self-driving cars, for example, like the Waymo cars that are going through San Francisco and other cities, have had 0 accidents. We'll dramatically reduce accidents as we get more intelligent. But, and so past 7 years, you'll actually get back more than a year. So you'll actually go backwards in time.
Can't wait.
So we'll live longer. Ultimately, we'd like that decision to be in ourselves, but actually people don't want to die unless they're in unbearable pain, physical, mental, spiritual pain. Otherwise, people want to live. People say, oh, they don't want to live past 75 or 85 or 95 because they look at people who are at that age, and many of them are not, you can't really communicate with them because they're too old.
Right.
So we actually want to extend healthy life, not just being able to live longer.
I've often quoted you saying, I hope I'm not misquoting you, I want to live long enough to live forever.
Yes, that's the subtitle of one of my books. You know.
Oh, I guess I'm not misquoting. I must remember it from there. How's that going? You used to take a lot of supplements, I know.
Right. Well, when the Age of Spiritual, I wrote 3 books on health. When they came out, I was taking about 250 pills. I'm now down to about 80. They're actually more effective. I've had actually 2 problems that were dangerous, and I've actually overcome them.
Nice.
My father died of heart disease when he was 58. His father died at even younger age. I take now Repatha. My LDL, which is my bad cholesterol, is down to 10.
Wow.
My good cholesterol is up to 64.
Holy cow.
And
Mazel.
I've actually measured my heart, and I have 0 plaque. So I've really overcome that problem.
Is that with exercise too, or just supplements?
Well, the supplements is really what has created. I mean, there's other things which you want to do exercise for.
Yeah.
I've also had diabetes. I now have an artificial pancreas. It works just like a real pancreas.
Isn't that amazing?
So I've actually overcome those 2 problems with scientific progress, which didn't exist when my father died 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So who knows what will happen tomorrow, but I think I'm in pretty good shape to be alive and well 7 years from now.
I want to be here 20 years from now because I'm excited about the singularity, but I am 68, so it's going to be, I'm going to have to be, as you say, diligent. Have you ever published your supplement regimen? Or is that
it's actually in my books. I'm also writing an autobiography where I'll talk about
good.
that.
I want to see it. Good.
How long does it take you to take 80 pills a day, if you don't mind me asking?
I take them while I'm drinking other things like coffee and...
Okay.
Here and there. And
I was going to say, I'm at like 2.5, and that could take me a whole 10 minutes. I can get distracted. So I'm impressed.
Well, it's okay. You've got 24 hours in a day. Maybe a third of them you're sleeping, but there's plenty of time to take some supplements.
Anything special about your diet?
I mean, I eat vegetables and fish. I avoid meat. So it's a good diet, but nothing too exotic about it.
Ray, we've had way more of your time than we deserve, and I thank you so much for spending time with us. And I really, if people are even slightly intrigued, I couldn't recommend this book more highly. It is a great read. There's a lot of information in here. We didn't touch on so many things you talk about. The new book, Singularity is Nearer When We Merge with AI. I am inspired by you, and I am always been excited to talk to you. And I think this is our 4th conversation. I look forward to when the autobiography comes out and we can talk again, I hope.
Yeah, look forward to
Thank you, Ray.
our future conversations. It's great.
Thank you, sir.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Great Ray Kurzweil. Hey, it's Leo Laporte. I hope you've enjoyed this little clip from our programming at TWiT.tv. For more, visit our website, TWiT.tv, or subscribe in your favorite podcast client. There's also a link somewhere down there.